I think probably jellyfish. That was about as bad as it got for me. I was kind of, there's lots of foods you could try, but as far as the really weird ones, I kind of held back on that. Jellyfish was kind of like spaghetti. You'd eat it in the same way because it was their tentacles that you would eat. And it was kind of like chewing on rubber bands with flavor. That's what it felt like. It's kind of hard to chew through. I remember I was serving in this area where sometimes people had a tendency to be a little bit rough. And the missionary that I was with and it was kind of hard to we were getting a little bit discouraged because of the persecution that we were getting. And I remember riding my bike and I was thinking, I wonder if this can get any worse. And the next thing I knew, this foot just flew past my head. And apparently some guy driving past me stuck his foot out the window, his whole leg. And I don't know if he was trying to kick me in the head as he went by or something, but that's what it seemed like. I'm not sure if he thought that through though, because I would probably hurt him pretty bad as well. It wouldn't just hurt me, kicking me in the head driving past like that. So that was weird. But one experience that comes to mind is just, it illustrates the point that God really is preparing people. I remember a young man that literally came to us to be taught. He walked into the church building. He was asking for somebody to teach him more about the gospel. He'd read all that he thought there was about our church online. He'd read the anti-material first, and then he read the good stuff. And when he read the good stuff, he thought, there's got to be more. So after doing his research and reading part of the Book of Mormon, he eventually decided to start living the word of wisdom and the law of chastity and things like that. And so by the time that he came to us, he was already saying, I got to learn more about the Book of Mormon. I got to learn more about these things, because the word of wisdom, the law of chastity, have already made me a better Christian. And so he was well prepared, and we taught him, and he had questions just like everyone else. But because he was humble, those questions didn't stand in his way, and he was able to pray and get an answer, and now he's a really faithful, strong member of the church. And so despite what anybody might say to you in Australia or any other mission in the world, there's people like that are waiting, and they're all over the place. When there's a will, there's a way. We hear that all the time, but especially in the Lord's service, we can't let roadblocks stop us. I've seen it so many times where we have a roadblock and we just move around, explore enough until we eventually find a way around it, or over it, or under it. But there's always a way forward in the Lord's work. I would say I learned how to talk with people, and to do so in a relaxed manner, because sometimes it's a little bit intense. I learned planning skills. That's another thing that goes along with accomplishing your goals, is just, if you can plan well, you can pretty much plan to get around anything. You can plan for any problem that will come. Random skill, I learned how to play rugby every once in a while on the preparation day. We couldn't tackle or anything like that, which was fine. Got no problem with not getting injured. So yeah, that was fun little thing to learn. It got pretty hot once. I remember, it's hard to remember how much it was because it's in Celsius, but it was probably somewhere around 117 or something like that degrees. So plus humidity, and that was something I wasn't used to. And so knocking on doors or walking on the street in that kind of weather was a little bit extreme. I know that sometimes it rained a lot as well. It wasn't very frequent, but occasionally you'd get a lot of rain. So there's a few things that you run into that are hard on a mission. I'd say a lot of the hard things can be resolved if you're willing to just change, to keep moving. Like in Doctrine and Covenants, in section 121, it says, how long can rolling waters remain impure? If we just keep moving, if the Lord gives us something we don't understand, and we move forward, that's going to cut out like half of your hard times. Because a lot of the times we make it hard for ourselves because we're not willing to change. But other times there's things that are outside of your control that will happen that are hard. You might experience your sickness yourself, or other people that just aren't accepting the gospel. And that can be really hard because sometimes they feel like your brother or sister, because they are. You really learn to love them, and you learn to sacrifice for them, and sometimes they just reject it. and there's not much you can do about it. To do what we've been told, to find every bit of counsel and advice that the prophets and apostles have given us, and just do it. Because through that experience of doing those things, we experience the blessings of the atonement. Because that's what happens when we change. We're repenting, in a sense. We're turning around and becoming a better person. And so, Preach My Gospel is amazing. If a missionary can come out knowing what's in Preach My Gospel, living what's inside the missionary handbook already, or being willing to, then they will have a huge head start.